Let's return to This Week in America. Here's your host, Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody, coast to coast. This Week in America, Egonomics 101, The Awakening Has Begun. Within or Without You by Tommy Joe Laux is the story of his near-death experience and message of honesty from the great spirit of life. His near-death experience happened in 2008, and it's taken him almost 12 years of research into psychology, politics, and religion to understand what he was exposed to in the death of his fragile ego self. When this happened, Tommy was at the top of his game, and in an instant, it was all gone. He had to learn how to communicate all over again with a whole new perspective on both life and death, and without any fear of either. Tommy Joe Laux is a simple man with an extraordinary story about life after death or beyond this dimension of time and space. With little to no interest in school, he didn't go to a university. He went, as he describes it, to the universe. Every question he ever pondered to at this point in time was answered instantly. With an open mind and open heart, he set out to help others with the gifts he is given by God. And Tommy Joe Laux is the author of Egonomics 101, The Awakening Has Begun, Within or Without You, and he's our guest on This Week in America. Tommy, welcome to the program. A pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Rick. It's my pleasure.
What an amazing story. I am really looking forward to our conversation. Egonomics 101. I love the title. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's go back to the basics here. What inspired you to write this book? Where did Egonomics 101 come from?
That came from my spirit guides or God or whoever it was that I met on the other side. That was... there was two very main parts of the message was ego and soul. And I didn't know how I was completely unaware of my own ego at that time. I didn't, to me, the ego is a derogatory term. But I didn't study any of this in school, so I had no idea that everybody has an ego. Whether it's strong or weak is kind of irrelevant, but
Yes.
Everybody has that condition, and that's basically how it was shown to me is that's the human condition, is the ego, and that's everything that you're taught. You're born with everything you need to know, but it's either beat out of you or trained out of you by the time you're 7 or 8 years old. That's when you shed that toddler body and you turn into a adolescent or whatever.
What? Yeah.
And so. And you keep going through these changes through life. That's part of the whole. That's the awakening, from my perspective, is everybody goes through this. Not everybody wakes up, but everybody goes through this. Some people go deeper into the coma, if you will. The illusion.
Yes.
Rather than. Recognizing their own gifts, their own ability to be whatever they want to be. And you constantly, when I was a child, when I was young, especially a teenager, I didn't think I'd live to be 30. I just had it in my mind that I was going to die by the time I'm 30.
Now, why did you think that?
Well, because that's, I'm pretty good at math, and I'm looking at all the odds and listening to what people are saying. I wasn't living a cautious life.
Okay.
I wasn't a daredevil, but I was not. I didn't fear death, and I still don't. But but I just, by going by what I was taught, that people like me don't live that long, and seeing it, with some of my friends and, people dying at a young age.
Yes.
I just saw that as, and here's the weird part about that is I was 50 when I died, when I was in this accident. And that showed me every bit of all of that, how that all makes sense. I did die. That me died when I was 30, because that's when my daughter was born. And then the next year, my son was born the next year, and between that, their mother and I got married. So, that's a form of death. The old self is gone.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I'm the responsible one. So, I had to do the responsible thing and didn't have time to ride my motorcycles anymore, so I sold them. And then it wasn't until 10 years later when Julie was my wife. She died in the accident that I was in.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And basically, I went there with her, so I kind of know that she's in good hands. She's in that place. She's in heaven, and I will be going there when I'm done with whatever it is I'm supposed to do here. And there's two ways to look at this. Either I'm lucky to be alive, or I was sentenced to another life sentence.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting perspective that you could look at it either way there. Our guest is Tommy Joe Laux. If you're Googling that, Laux is Laux. His website is the name of the book, Egonomics101.com. Information on the book there. You can order it there as well. Book available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, the usual places. Would you briefly tell the story? Tell what happened in that accident that, unfortunately, I'm so sorry to hear this, took your wife's life, and you were gone for a while as well. How did this near-death experience come about?
We went to a family reunion at my sister's house in Southern Colorado. We were living in California at the time, and I had a 2007 Road King, beautiful bike, and my son had just turned 18 just before this accident. And anyway, we went to the family reunion, and we were on our way back home, and we're just outside of Montrose, Colorado, and an old couple made a left in front of us on the highway, and we crashed. And basically, we were both dead on the scene at that time. She was either pronounced dead at the scene or at the first hospital, which was Montrose. But I was I was in and out. I was there and back. I don't know how. I don't exactly. Once you go there, how long you stay there there is no time there. So it's, I was witness to my whole life, and it wasn't like a lot of people say it's like a high-speed video
Yes.
of your life. Mine was like I lived the whole life again, but I could see every crossroads, every interaction, and I could see why I went the way I went. It really doesn't matter which way you go; you always end up where you're going to be, and that's there's a lot of people that it's hard to understand in this in this world, but from the other side, it's all makes very much sense.
When you regained consciousness, were you aware then of what you had gone through? Were you aware that that was a near-death experience?
Well, I didn't know. I mean, I was aware that I died and I was out of my body. I could see everything from outside my body.
Okay.
I could see my carcass laying on the side of the road
Wow.
and my ego dying. That kind of blew me away because literally I didn't know I had an ego before that point. I didn't even know what an ego was, really. I just, and that's kind of why I have a hard time, because if you have a big ego, you're a great salesman.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You have to got that confidence. Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's when you and to be honest with you, most people are unaware of their own ego, but they can see it in others.
Yes.
Including myself.
Yeah, I can
because
believe
the
that.
ego wants to deny its own existence.
How were you aware of the ego? You said you could see it there, and it was gone. I mean, it was obvious it was your ego. How did you visualize that? How did you know? Someone that didn't really pay much attention to ego realize that's my ego.
Well, because of the deep lessons that I went through.
Okay.
In other words, I went there and back 3 times. I flatlined 3 times. And like I said, I couldn't tell you if that all happened on the side of the road or one was in the hospital. Well, I know the first one was on the side of the road because that's when I left my body and I could see all of the hustle and bustle, but there was no pain. So it was very easy to die. The hard part was coming back. That's where the pain came in. And each time I went there and came back, the pain was a little more intense coming back and I'm not talking about just my physical pain, but the emotional pain, the pain that everybody else felt for me was not helping my condition.
Okay, yes.
I could feel their pain pouring onto me. And knowing that I'm going to get that sort of a sympathy pain the rest of my life. Whenever somebody hears that story about my wife dying, I didn't have the pain of her dying because I know exactly why she had to die, or she didn't have to, but why one of us was coming back and one of us was not. And why me, I'm not sure, but I don't question that.
Well, you came back to write the book. Boy, time is going by so quickly. Tommy Joe Laux, yes. Laux, is our guest. His book is Egonomics 101. The Awakening Has Begun Within or Without You. And the book available wherever books are sold. Tommy's website is egonomics101.com. Let's briefly talk about the title, Economics 101, The Awakening Has Begun Within or Without You. Explain the title and the subtitle.
Well, the title, the Egonomics, I mean, that's basically, I was projecting the future, where we're at right now. And what I mean by that, the ego that you want to fear is the one that is deceitful, the one that lies about it or pretends that it's something else. And I'm going to give you an example, like Donald Trump has a tremendous ego, but he doesn't hide behind it. He flaunts it. That's a healthy ego. I mean, he goes a little overboard sometimes, but the other ego, and this is where it gets interesting, is Bidenomics. That's an ego. That's egonomics. He's not really even the person. He's just the puppet. And it is what it is. If you can't see that, I can see why a lot of people. And literally, I saw this 15 years ago. I saw this where we're at right now coming. And I still don't know how it's going to turn out, but I do know that this country, the United States of America, is being attacked from within, from the ego within. And that's, the egos pays well.
Exactly. And you can tell in listening to Tommy why this book is receiving excellent reviews. The book is available wherever books are sold. Egonomics. I keep wanting to say ego. I had that in college and I have this flashback. Egonomics 101, The Awakening Has Begun Within or Without You. Time going by quickly. I would like to talk about some of the after effects of the near-death experience. I talk about it took you over a decade to sort all of this out, to sort of, it almost sounded like starting over. What was it like after this, and how long did it take for you to understand what happened to you and what's happening to you now?
Well, that is directly a near-death experience on that degree, the degree that I went to. It was a complete rebirth. So I had to start completely. I changed my life completely, obviously, without my wife. And just so people know, the politics is not so much in the book as it is. It's just hinted at.
Yes.
And I just talk about the New World Order, which is, it's not left or right. It's the whole corrupt cabal, the whole deep state that we have to. It has to be brought out into the open, and if that's the system that has to be broke down, not the political system, not the Constitution. That's what we have to preserve, is the Constitution. Anyway.
No, it's fascinating, and there's so much in the book. So, we've got a limited amount of time. So, read the book. The book is Egonomics 101. It's available wherever books are sold. Send it to Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Tommy's website, egonomics101.com. When you talk about near-death experiences, a lot of times you hear talk about ETs or spirits, that type of thing being involved. Are they, and what's the difference between the two? I've never quite understood that, ETs and spirits.
Well, to be honest, there is no difference, because what you see, you will find what you're looking for. In other words, you're kind of creating your reality here and now. So where, what's out there, you're creating it. Whether it's a spirit, a god, or an alien, whatever, we are creating those here and now. I struggled with making this a fiction or a nonfiction, because there's very little. Right now, we are living the science fiction of when I was a kid.
I mean, yes.
And so where does all of that intelligence come from? Where does all of that technology come from? It's being hidden from us, but it didn't come just from us. We built it. We put the pieces together, but if you look at artificial intelligence, to me, that's an oxymoron. I mean, that's fake intelligence.
Yes.
But it's taking everybody's thoughts right now. They're doing it. That's what all the data collection is about, and they're trying to create a god out of it. That's that's um, that's basically against nature. I mean, everybody has their thoughts, and bless them for them. But if everybody's thoughts are being taken and manipulated, then yeah, you're going to get some funky stuff.
Yep, yeah.
You know, it's not a good idea for man to play God. That's a fact.
Well, boy, that's a lot to sort out there that Tommy was just talking about, because we sort of accept this, and if you say something, it's like, no, this is good for us, so just be quiet and let us go ahead with this. But time is going by so quickly. Why do you think you went through this? Are you here? Do you have an assignment, do you feel? Is there something you were brought back to do?
It's to gently wake people up, not sound the alarm, and not, if you don't want to wake up, fine. I'm not going to bang your head. I'm not going to shake you. I'm just going to put it out there, and anybody that wants to know more, I'm open. And I'm really hoping to hook up with somebody that's a better writer than I am, that wants to, has those skills, the organization skills, and I give them the story. It would be helpful if they have some connection or interest in the near-death experience or afterlife or aliens or whatever.
Or, yes. Now, well, how do you feel? You mentioned before death, you don't fear death. Is that a result of what you went through, what you saw, and your knowledge now? Is that it sounds like you're comfortable with that? That's sort of the next stage, and I'm prepared for it.
Right. There is no beginning and there is no end. That's the reality that I saw. And perhaps that's because that's what I've kind of envisioned subconsciously, or I think it's the fact that I know that I came from that place, and that's where I'm going back to when I'm done here, and I will be back here. I look at the earth as a soul recycling center.
Okay. I can see that. I'm just sorting out everything that you're saying here and wishing that I had 4 hours to talk about this. How about the trust factor? Who do we trust? Can we trust ourselves if that ego is at play? Do we even know ourselves with the ego at play?
That's just it. If you know yourself, then you know if your intuition is coming from the good you or the evil you. You know that.
Okay.
Is it for, if I'm doing it just to see what's in it for me, then I'm doing it wrong. I would give this book away if I could, but I have to pay the people that helped me along the way. So I can't give it away. But I will. There's so much more than what's in this book. I will be talking about it for the rest of my life.
Well, this is good, and maybe another book or two explaining what all Tommy has gone through. Did this sort of give you a filter? This a different perspective when people say things? You take it differently than you might have before when you're getting a line of ego talking, and you can break through that. And from your standpoint, do you put the ego aside and you say what you think to people?
Actually, it knocked all my filters out. I don't have a filter anymore.
Okay, well, I guess that's another way to look at it. Your filter is not having a filter.
Yeah, I mean, I can be polite if I'm being treated right,
Yes.
But if I'm being threatened in any way, pressured, you're going to get both barrels.
What is this like? Do you like the new Tommy? Do you like what you went through, what you learned, and how you're applying it in your life now?
I like it. I'm not sure everybody that knew me before likes it because I was much more reserved and quiet before, and now it's hard to shut me up.
What? And don't shut up. Keep talking. You have a lot to say. Who would be interested in reading this book? Everybody tries to put it into a market, and then we'll target what's the demographic. As you're describing it, what you're going through, what you went through, everybody could read this book. Who do you see would be most fascinated by what you're talking about?
Well, I would think that because I'm a biker, bikers would understand the language
Okay.
most. But there's a lot of misconception on bikers too, that they're not as evil as they're made out to be.
Okay, so they've been Hollywoodized over the years, and we
Correct.
sort of put them into that category. Take 30, 40 seconds here just at the end to talk about the benefits of the book. What can we expect as we read the book? The benefits of the book. What will that, when I look through that, how is this book going to help me sort of sort out my life, make my life better, not only for myself, but people around me?
It will. The idea is to introduce you to you,
Okay.
to help you realize that fear is a wasted energy. It's a wasted emotion. But that's the tool that the ego uses. So, and once everybody knows that, then we could bring that new earth about, that new paradigm. That's where we're at.
Yes.
That's what the awakening is all about. And it's not a race. It's not a if you claim to be woke, then you're just too stupid for the program.
One more question before we go here. Did you find an ego? How was your ego changed? You talked about didn't even realize you had an ego. Do you have an ego now?
Yes, I do, and I'm not. The difference is, I don't fear my ego, and I don't worship that part of me.
Okay.
But that part of me still exists. In other words, I can be as big of an as the one that I'm confronted with.
Interesting. Fair is fair. So
Yes.
So are you able sometimes to rein your ego in when you're like, okay,
yes.
this is my ego acting now, not me?
Oh yes. That's the difference, is I control it myself now instead of having it just on a hair trigger where everybody can agitate it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Boy,
I have no worries.
Well, and I like that attitude. It's like, okay, I understand things here, and I can sort all this out, and my life is better because of this. And if you listen to me, it could be better for you as well. So there's so much in the book. The book is Egonomics 101, The Awakening Has Begun, Within or Without You, by Tommy Joe Laux, and that's Laux if you're Googling. No reason to. You can get the book at his website, egonomics101.com. Book also available at Amazon, the usual places. Reader's Magnet, the self-publishing and marketing company, arranged our conversation today. And Tommy, just briefly, what's it been like working with Reader's Magnet? Now the book is published, it's out there, and getting it into people's hands so people can read, understand, and implement in their lives.
It was a pleasure. They followed through with everything they promised.
Well,
So yeah,
they hooked us up, so I'm grateful for that. That they got the word out there that this would be a fascinating interview, and they were right on the money. It's been a pleasure, Tommy, to have you on the program. We'll stay in touch. Keep writing, keep thinking, keep getting the word out there. Thank you for being with us on the program.
thank you for having me, Rick.
It has been our pleasure. It's Tommy Joe Laux, Laux. The book is Egonomics 101, The Awakening Has Begun, Within or Without You. Book available on Tommy's website, egonomics101.com. Of course, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, the usual places. And if you go to thisweekinamerica.us, you can link on directly to Tommy's website. You're listening to This Week in America, and we're back on today's program after these messages.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, associate producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, segment producer. Ben Watson, webmaster. Otto Bechet, director of engineering and TV production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, executive producer of This Week in America.